This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas.
Hello, and thank you so much for another episode of Anahita TV. Thank you so much for joining me. Today's guest is a good friend of mine, Marla Martenson. She's an author. She's written several books, and she's also a I'm actually doing this outside. So I've got little family members running around. So without further ado, welcome my friend Marla Martenson. She's going to talk about dating in today's world.
Hi Anahita. Hi everyone.
Hi. Thank you so much, Marla June. Thanks for joining me. I'm so excited about today. We had it canceled a couple of times.
Me too. Yep. Yeah, here we are.
Yes. So tell us a little bit about yourself. We've talked before, and you've written several books, and you're very inspirational, I believe, to women. You've gone through so much, and unfortunately, you had to bury your mother last year or so, and so you've gone through a lot, and I feel like your voice really matters in the space of love, family, and that's why in today's world, I feel like we need someone like you. You're also a healer. There's so much that you have that, you could share with us and the audience.
Yes, I'm a Gemini, so just imagine, two people here. I get so scattered and overwhelmed. It's a little bit crazy. So I was like, okay, just sit down and just pick the top 3. And I'm like, I can't. I've got top 6. But yeah,
right.
So I'm a professional matchmaker. I've been a matchmaker for 23 years. Started in Beverly Hills at a high-end Beverly Hills matchmaking service. Worked there 7 years, and then in 2009 left and ended up starting my own boutique service and partnered up in 2011 with my business partner, Fredley. And we are like sisters. It's a great fit, entrepreneurs. We can work from anywhere. And we have a nice group of singles. Pretty much men are the paying clients, but now we're starting to take on a few select ladies as clients as well. We keep it small. So playing Cupid has been, something I've been doing for so long, and I've written books. I was an actor the first 20 years of my adult life. I was an actor and worked in restaurants and kind of co-owned a restaurant. And then I was at 39, I was ready to get out of that. And that's when I went into the matchmaking on a fluke, but I had to keep that creativity going. So that's when I started writing, which I always loved to write. So I wrote 2 dating advice books, and then I wrote 4 memoir and a short story. My latest memoir is The Magic Seeker, and they're all on my website, marlamartenson.com, or on Amazon. Spiritual memoir, very funny. And so the spiritual side, the healing, the readings, now mediumship, that deep dive started really, I used to be into metaphysics my whole life, but then the real woo-woo stuff, magical stuff started in 2013. And I think a lot of it was to balance out some of that, shallowness that matchmaking can be when you're dealing with, very wealthy men wanting, women who look like models. And so I was like, it could be,
We've had that conversation.
Yeah, it could be challenging. So I took a deep dive into the spiritual side, which I do bring into my work. And I'm also a coach, a life coach too. So there's a lot going on, but I love every minute of it. And I love working for myself and being able to create things to help people.
Yeah, and love, sorry, go ahead. I wasn't sure if you were done.
Yeah, no, that's it. Yep. Go ahead.
I mean, I love your book. The one I read was The Buddha Made Me Do It, because we had a similar experience. How we had the same doctor, Dr. Mo, that we went to.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so that's how we shared. How it was so interesting. We had, before we even met, we had so many connections of places
Mhm.
we had, frequented, but without knowing each other. That was
Yes.
coincidental. And then we met when the whole women life freedom thing was happening, and you used to live in Iran,
Hmm.
and you speak a little Farsi, and I thought that was so
Mm-hmm.
cool and interesting. So tell us about that, like living in Iran as a teen
Yeah,
before the
when
regime change.
in 1978, I was 16, and my father got a job with a community. Well, he was with Pacific Northwest Bell and AT&T here in Seattle, and then got a job in with the communications, American Bell, and then we moved over. The whole family moved over, and it was so great. We spent the summer, and then going into school, high school, and we lived. We were really immersed in it. We lived in a Persian neighborhood. It wasn't like some American compound or anything. We're just with the people, and it was such a great experience. The people were so, and the culture and the food, and it was me coming from a small town. It was just like, wow. And
Yeah.
I've always loved languages, so I do. My second language is French, and I speak conversational Spanish. I can kind of get by in Italian, and so of course Persian I did study with the professor, Professor Pakravan in Los Angeles years ago after I
Oh,
got back,
yay.
because I love it. Yeah. So it made a big, but we had the
One
revolution
second.
started.
You can continue your story.
The
Sylvia.
revolution started, and we had to go back to the States, but I always kept a love, and being in living in Los Angeles, I mean, we call it Tehrangeles, right? There's the huge Persian community there, so it was easy for me to go and have food and get books and get immersed, and I've always had a love for that. And then when the Women Life Freedom happened, God, what is it, 2 years ago now, and I just made a Instagram post with my solidarity, and it went viral. I think it got 500,000 views. And from there, I met a lot of Iranian people around the world. And one of them was Anahita. And we are only in LA. We don't live too far from each other, maybe a 20-minute drive from each other. So we got together and found out we're both healers, and we both are into a lot of the same stuff. So yeah, that's
That's
how it
amazing.
happened. Yes, yes.
That's such a wonderful story. I mean, at least you were old enough. I left a little bit, when I was 10 in 1986, I want to say. But
Mhm.
at least you were old enough when it was good to experience. 19, I think 78. Yeah, I
Yeah.
was too young to
Mhm.
remember too much. But I do remember I had a wonderful childhood. And it was, it was very positive. Before the war started, everything was cool, And so it was so wonderful to have the experiences together. So today, let's talk about, the topic was love,
Mhm.
and what do you think about love in today's age? Having met these wealthy men and having met some of the women, what is it that I feel like you would probably know better than the rest of us? Like, what is it that either side wants? Because things have changed, from when we were kids or teens or 20s, and it's not the same. And I just want to know from a professional standpoint, what do you think?
Well, it is. I mean, my generation, my gosh, of course, we had only, when I was growing up, we had 4 TV channels, and you had to get up and turn the channel. You didn't have a remote. It was that there was no online dating or social media or anything, and it was quite different. You had to really get out and get out there and meet. But we met people. It wasn't a problem, and and now with the social media, there's good things about it and bad with the online dating and such. I think a detriment is a little bit where people will be swiping, and it's so visually um, motivated that not everyone's photogenic. Maybe a lot of singles need help. I always say, hey, if you're single and you need help with photographs, go ahead and contact me. You can go to my website, marlamartenson.com, and I have a contact there, and I'll be glad to look at your photos. I won't charge you anything, just to tell you if
This
they're
is
going to
so
work.
true.
Yeah, just to tell you if they're going to work or not, because you get one chance, right? They're going to look and then swipe because they think there's hundreds more, and and I see the worst angles. I mean, attractive people just having the worst pictures, And so that's something that is very important. And that's something that it makes it a little bit more of a challenge. You know, somebody's not going to give you if you meet out, you see the mannerisms, the voice, the personality. Whereas deciding if you want to have a first contact by a photo, that's a little bit challenging there, or quite challenging. So that's a difference. But everybody still wants the same thing. They want somebody to spend their life with the same values, and somebody to, you know, just enjoy, you know, go on trips and have a glass of wine and dinner and be with each other and understand each other. But I think a lot of it, you know, with the coaching and digging into a lot of things, I'm a boundary coach. We dig into shadow work, codependency, and that initial, what I was talking about, like you have to like the way someone looks. When we think it's like love at first sight, or, you know, this is the person because we're attracted to them physically, sexually, that way, that spark, whereas that does not mean you're a good match. That does not mean that other person doesn't have a lot of issues to work on. That doesn't, you don't know. I had a person, a woman who just fell in love with the man on the first day before they even met. They were texting for a week, and he was really laying it on, and she was like, oh my God, it's, you know, this, oh, he's so amazing, and I'm pretty sure we're just going to be in love when we meet. And then they met, and I told her, do not be intimate with this man on your first date. She did. She was like, I got to lock this down, this is it. And then of course he was like, no, you know. And I yeah, pretty much. And I could see it, you know, and I told her, but she didn't want it, because that excitement, that adrenaline, that oxytocin, all of that, we've got to be careful about it. Don't let that doesn't mean that this is a good match for you. So take our time, get to know the person.
I agree with you. I feel like the whole online dating thing has changed everything. And because it's two people on two opposite sides, a lot of it has unfortunately have been scams. And the ones that aren't scams, like you said, there's a lot of emotional stuff like boundaries, this and that, like things that you actually need to get to know someone. I feel like everybody is so desperate for connection because after the pandemic, there has been such a separation that, like you said, like that woman, she fell for it because she wants to fall for it. I'm sure she's smart enough to know that's not realistic to fall in love over the phone. That's very unrealistic because yeah, and it's weird. I've been on that end of it as well on online, and I'm out of it now because I just can't. It's just too much. Because one of the things I notice is that they do that, the guys do that, they really lay it on thick to just get intimate with someone one time, but then they're left empty, so they keep doing it. It's so much work to keep going from woman to woman, whereas they should understand, they don't understand that if you're with one person that you like, it's a lot less work. You have to stop you don't have to keep laying it on thick to just get a one night stand. You can just continuously go with the same person and actually have a emotionally and sexually fulfilling, you know, it's usually it gets better.
And this man wasn't just looking for a one night stand. You know, he really is looking for somebody, but she went too much. He laid it on. It was like love bombing, which you got to be careful. I mean, some women will think, because we see the fairy tales and oh my God, he's just complimenting me. And he says, I've never met anyone like you before. You are so unique. You are so beautiful. Never seen anybody as beautiful as you.
Right.
You just met. I mean, when I think about, I've been with my husband 23 years, and then somebody thinks they're, you know, this is the person for them in a week or two. It's just preposterous. You know, we've got to slow down. You don't know the person.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you 100%. I was trying to see if there's any questions, because I see there's some questions.
Yeah. Do people fall for more things because they want? Do people fall for more things because they want thing and live with blinders on? I'm not sure about that. Let's see. Why do people put up with such false flags right at the start? Yeah, those red flags you can see. I mean, if you look, let's say a woman says, oh yeah, I was, you know, with this guy for 6 years. He turned out to be narcissistic and a drinking problem and this and that. And then she has a kid with him, and then they've got a divorce. And it's like, well, didn't they saw red flags from the beginning? You did, but we choose to like not look at it because we want so much to, because the guy's sexy, or that we want that fairy tale, and we think, oh my gosh, maybe. And this woman that really went for it, she was in her 40s and feeling like time's running out, which it's not. And it didn't, it's just going to delay things more, because that's not going to work out. But
Right.
yeah, will tend to, I mean, I did it. That's why I can say it. I'm not, disrespecting it, putting, hey, I've done all the mistakes, all the disasters myself. So I can kind of want to guide women to avoid these pitfalls. And it is hard when that's why we want to wait. And I tell the guys too, please don't sleep with my ladies on the first date. Please don't try to, they get attached because there's something called oxytocin, a hormone that's released, that's a bonding, the love hormone. And even when you're kissing, making out, when you have sex, even the love bombing, you're like, oh, it feels so good. This oxytocin, it's love. And then when they get ghosted or dumped, then that's when you can even get a stalker. The woman can really go nuts and like, what's going on? And it's a bad thing all around.
It is. It's horrible. Yeah. I mean, it's just sad, because at the end of the day, like what I'm hearing from you and what I'm feeling on myself is that they all want the same thing. We all want connection and a long term, but it's just, I feel like there's been such a long disconnect that it's like men and women are repelling each other somehow. And like, even for myself, if someone is love bombing, that's a red flag for me. Like if someone doesn't know me and we've only gone on one date and they tell me I'm the most beautiful person they've ever met, and it's just too much. It's just I mean, oh come on,
Well, and then one of the
like
questions is
why
do people do ghost and not just be honest? Because we don't want conflict. It's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to say to somebody, hey, but yes,
it was fun.
Say, hey, have a nice life. Yeah, I'm not attracted to you. Bye. But you can, what is so elegant, and just step into this power, men and women. If you like the next day, let's say you have a date, the person's great, but you couldn't imagine being with him or kissing him. There's no attraction, right? You don't want a second date. But the next day, still, if that man took you out, text them or call them and say, hey, Brad, thank you so much. Lovely evening. Thank you for your generosity. You are a fabulous guy. Unfortunately, I don't feel the romantic chemistry to have another date, but I know some lady's going to be so lucky to have you. And how lovely, how instead of thinking, you know what they think when the woman just ignores him, doesn't call back, they think they're just what a bunch of bitches, instead of, and I've heard, because they've said, oh, you know what? I'm really disappointed that she didn't want to see me again, but I so respect her. It was so refreshing for someone just to tell me, that it wasn't a fit. And you can't expect it to be a fit for everybody every time. So we've got to just know that and move on. So, okay, what is meant by love bombing is a question. Love bombing, that's when, like, the guy, men do this a lot. I mean, it's a narcissistic trait, a typical one, where they'll just be, flower right away from the get-go. You're so, like Anahita said, you're the most beautiful one. Oh, I've never met anyone like you. Oh, texting you every day, every night, my love, love, bringing flowers, whatever. It's over the top.
It's not, I had that recently. I went out with someone who over the phone was love bombing me. Oh my God, you're so amazing. You're so funny. And he was also Persian, and where, like, he loved where I'm from. It's very fun. And like, there's lots of very cool music and dancing. And he's like trying to even talk in the accent of where I'm from, and the Southern Iranian accent. And it was sweet. And I was like, it's a little much. Right. And he does show up. He takes me to a really nice restaurant. We go to Manhattan Beach. He brings in flowers also, but we both, when we met, we both didn't fit chemistry wise. Like then he had this, he felt like an obligation just to be nice or continue calling me, even though I knew and he knew, we both knew there was no connection. And I finally just said, hey, can we have a call? And I called him and I said, hey, I understand there's no chemistry. There's no hard feelings. You don't have to call me anymore. I don't want to keep texting you. It's so uncomfortable because obviously we both don't, have that chemistry. And it was awkward. And I had to be the bigger person and say, hey, you don't have to keep calling me. And he felt like inclined to call every morning to say good morning.
Oh.
It was so much. It was too much. And so I get it. It's just, it's such a weird space. Even though he was nice and I was nice, it didn't work out, and it just felt uncomfortable ending it. It was,
Yeah. People
yeah.
don't
So
want to be, they're worried if they say something, maybe they're going to, the person's going to go, maybe a woman's going to go nuts or yell at him or cry or, men
yeah,
avoid. There's one question. Should people drop some of their wants in a relationship to move forward when things are not quite matching up? Should people drop some of their wants in a relationship to move forward if it's not, you mean like if we say like settle, like, is that, I think that might be what the
that's what
question
it is.
is.
Yeah.
Well, we have our must-haves. Let's say if I was out there dating, I would not, if someone was a smoker, that's a no for me. If it's, I don't want that. If somebody is, doesn't take care of themselves, is out of shape, and that's a no for me. If they drink too much and they're sloppy,
Oh,
that's a
yes.
no. If they have, a bunch of $100,000 on the credit card or something, that's a no, so these are things that are hard, are non-negotiable. So we'll have our non-negotiables. Now, as far as, let's say a woman, oh, I always wear high heels, so the guy has to be 6 feet and up and they're only 5'5" or 5'6". I think you can miss the right person. Maybe you should loosen up and take another look. I remember a woman that I knew who kind of missed out on having kids because she was 5'10" and she wanted 6'2" and up, and he had to have blue eyes and he had to blah, blah, blah. And she wouldn't be, so the years were going by, and then she was well into her 40s, too late to have children. She was single. And then her friend said, you are going out with my husband's friend. You're going out with him tonight. He's single, he's cute, and you're going on a date. She went, and he was her height. Never would she go. And when she arrived, she's like, well, little man, like,
Oh my
this
God.
is, well, in her mind, like, this isn't
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
work, and she was already, and then they did have a second date. He took her to a holiday party, and then they ended up at her place, Kissy Face, and they got married. And so they're so happy. They're such a great couple. But see, so loosen up on I think on that. If you have, some men will only date a certain hair color. Even a client I have in his late 50s, he says, I want brunettes. Well, I mean, ladies in the 50s, 40s, 50s, we're dyeing our hair anyway. I mean, what,
No
you're
one
going
is
to
a
miss
natural
out.
brunette or a natural blonde, but after 40.
Yeah, you're going to miss out on a phenomenal life partner for a hair color. So I don't get that kind of thing. I feel if you really want to find that person, loosen up on some, look at is this really make sense,
Yeah. And you know what? I've met quite a few women who have had second chances, and the height situation came up. One of the women that I used to teach, and was gorgeous, kind of like Diane. What's her name? Last name? The blonde, beautiful TV host. Is it Diane? I'm forgetting her name. And she looked like that. She was just
Okay.
gorgeous. And she's very tall, also 5'10". She rode a horse. She always looked very sexy, very cute. Anyway, when I talked to her, she said second marriage. She's really happy. Very a handsome man, but much shorter than her. He was 5'8". She's 5'10", But he, otherwise he said, and she said the same thing. She said, I had to let go of my whole height situation. I had to let go of the fact that he has to be taller than me or my height. And she was also introduced. And she said, if I hadn't let go of my whole ideology of the height, I would have never been with this amazing man. And she was in love and she was very happy. And,
Yeah.
So another
Yep.
question that I see that came up is like, what do you think? Was it easier back then or is it easier now? We know the answer.
Well, I think back then, I think people stayed together a little longer because you met people in person and got to know them, maybe, I don't
Right.
know. There's a lot of, but, there's a question. Can we ever find the perfect person that has everything we imagine?
That doesn't
Prince
exist.
Charming.
Yeah.
Some people do, if they hit everything on their wish list, that's possible. But, if you get 80%, You know, that's pretty good because no one's perfect. And we got to remember we age, things happen. Women go through menopause, they have children. They're not going to maybe stay the size 2 that you wanted. Or what if they had an illness? What are you going to do? What if you get sick and you lose an arm or a leg, or you have a life-threatening illness, or you have a breast cancer, you have to remove a breast? Is that whatever? Is that things happen in life? Is that person going to stay with you? You want somebody, you know, what is it? Are you going to be together through thick and thin if something happens and he can't have sex anymore? You know, what is this bond? You want to go
Right.
deeper and have a life, if you're looking for that life partner, because life happens. We don't stay all gorgeous like we are in our 20s and 30s forever. You know, if you want that real connection and that beautiful, somebody who has your back.
Yeah. I
Mhm.
think that's the biggest thing. I honestly, when I go deep within what I'm looking for, I think that number one quality is the person that's going to have your back. Because looking back at my life and my relationship, I think the most valuable thing I find in a man is the man who knows how to back you up. Even
Mhm.
with friendship, girlfriends, otherwise family, you have to have that. I feel like that's the number one thing for any kind of relationship. If you don't have that, you don't have anything. If he's gonna, like you said, get up and go if you have breast cancer,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
happening in 1 in 3 women, so
And it
33%.
yeah, it happen. Oh, you know that it happens. Men will leave if the woman gets sick or something.
Oh, I experienced that with a friend of mine. Yes. He was telling me about this couple that was so in love, and they had 2 children, I believe, and the wife got breast cancer, and he just disappeared one night. It was a husband. They had adult children. They had like a 18-year-old and a 22-year-old child, 2 children, and
Mm-hmm.
he disappeared, never to be heard from again.
Yeah, yeah,
And I
yeah.
think that's kind of
It's
scary.
heartbreaking.
That's kind of weird.
Oh, how heartbreaking. And yeah, you have to, you know, what I have to do. You mentioned my mother last year. I had to take care of her. She had cancer. She died here at home, and I had to administer because they don't now. They have you at home, and they have a hospice come in and teach you. And I'm the one who had to administer the morphine, the this, that. My cousin helped me. It was, it was just I can't even say how painful and stressful and devastating it was. And what if she didn't have me? You know, my brother passed away. Her husband had died a long time ago. It was me. And so, and I told my husband, we don't have kids, you know, we don't have anybody that, and I said, you know, and he says, well, we're going to take care of each other. You know, we're going to have each other's back, because who's going to be there for, who is in those kind of moments, who you think your, you know, 3 friends left in LA are going to come and help you in that kind of situation? No. So it's, you know, we just got to think about what's important, you know. And
I
of course,
totally
it's
agree.
nice to have romance. It's nice to have
For
romance
sure.
and stuff. But I think okay, this is where the coaching comes in, and that self-love component, and filling ourselves up and loving our life, because often we think, what is that person going to bring to me? That person needs to make me feel loved and romanced, and like, it's what can I get from them? And then we're disappointed when they don't deliver. So we've got to fill ourselves up and love ourselves so much, and then we become magnetic and charismatic, and then we draw people in that are at the same frequency. And of course, you want somebody who, you know, cares about you and thinks about you and is thoughtful, all of those things. But I think a lot of women, especially, will expect that man to be like those fairy tale Prince Charming a little bit, you
I
know.
think that's unrealistic, though, because at the end of the day, I had this conversation with several girlfriends, and one of the things I learned is that love is a place where you go to give love. If you're always expecting love, I think
Yes,
that's when you
yes.
ruin things. When you go to a relation, I'm not saying not receive. Of course, you got
Mhm,
to receive. If you go into a relationship always expecting, you're going to be really disappointed. When we
yeah.
expect, that's when we get disappointed. But when we don't expect and the person does things for us, then we are surprised, and it's more exciting and more fun and
Hmm.
enjoyable. But when I'm sitting around, and I feel like the new generation, that's what the girls are taught to do. It's like, what are you going to buy me? What are you going to
Hmm.
get for me?
Yeah.
When are you going to take me to this 5-star restaurant? Like, I mean, for me, I feel like that stuff doesn't really matter. The connection does. Of course, I like a 5-star restaurant. Of course, I like nice gifts. But at the same time, I'm not going to gauge a relationship based on
Hmm.
that stuff. I think that's so shallow.
And don't you want to have, build something like you want the man to be able to save money and invest it for your future instead of blowing it all on expensive handbags and first, you know what I mean? And all of
Yeah,
that.
I'd rather have a
Like,
house.
right?
I'd
Like
rather have
that,
some
thinking of
kids.
that,
Sure.
thinking of that. So, but
Yeah,
we can
definitely.
see, but we're entrepreneurs. We're women who can buy our own 5-star dinner if we want to go out for a 5-star dinner
Exactly. I've been always been able to buy better dinners for myself than any man.
too.
Because I don't expect it. I don't expect it from anyone. And I've always gone, when I need to go wherever I want to go, I never say no to myself in those ways. And I feel like when you love yourself and you learn to appreciate you, then you will attract a person that will also appreciate you for who you are and what you have to give.
Well, that's what it is. Frequency is always matched. So we got to
Right.
remember that.
Yes. And then tell us we talked about a new book you're writing about, or then you
Oh,
said
you
you're
know
going to
what?
do.
Yes, and I've switched it. Now it's going to be an online course. I'm going to make it into a course, but it's about there's a lot of women out there who are in a relationship. They could be married or living with a man, um, and I gauge it towards women. I just because there's a lot of women in this situation, but it could be the other way around. But this is really geared towards women. But there are women who are in a relationship. It could be a narcissistic relationship. It's now I'm not talking about women who are getting physically abused or beat up or anything like that. You should get out immediately and call for help. But this is for women who are maybe mildly miserable or very miserable because the relationship is maybe he's verbally abusive or what have you. But there's many women who won't leave or can't leave or can't leave now. Maybe the woman's older, or they have young kids, or they have a financial challenge, or a sickness, or they just can't do it, And so it's going to have a lot of how to calm your nervous system, how not to react. Because I know, like, let's say a man is putting down insults, how they'll do, and then the reaction, defending ourselves and yelling back and how dare you, and it just makes it worse, and then it's going on, and women can get sick from this kind of dynamic. They can have a lot of breast issues and just a lot of chaos from that, and it just makes things miserable. So I have a lot of different ways and modalities that things could be calmed down. We can ground ourselves. We can learn boundaries and do shadow work. Why we attracted that in the first place, and just there's a lot of things we can do to tame that, temper that so much, and so that we can have our still a beautiful life as much as we can with living in kind of a challenging situation.
That makes sense. Because I think a lot of women do need that help. I have met some women who, exactly what you said, because of their age, they've given this person 3 children, but the man asked them to stay home and not work, and so it's after 30 years of being home, she doesn't have the skills or the capabilities or or even if she had the skills, no one wants to give her a job. She'd have to work um, somewhere like a supermarket, or it wouldn't be
Yeah.
like a prestigious place and if she was, and if it's someone with a husband with high income, her husband's not going to want her to work at Target, or not that there's something wrong with that, but if they have a big house on the hill, like most women do here in Los Angeles, a lot of families, and they can't go out and just get a job. So they stay, and the man is verbally abusive, telling her, "You never worked a day in your life." The fact that she gave him 3 kids is suddenly forgotten. And this is the thing about the modernism or the modern life. Like, they got married when it wasn't modern. It was 30 years ago, right? When having a housewife was acceptable more than it is today. And so now she's looked down upon. And then unfortunately, the sad part is that these women, a lot of them, after a while, they just leave the house. They just leave and they become homeless. And this is where I'm sad. In California, I believe over 50%, 53% or so, where I read, where a lot of women, a lot of the homeless are women who are being abused by their own husbands. And yeah, and they just leave
Well,
because
and
they
then
don't.
there's the trauma bonding, where that's a dynamic where, let's say the husband, is snapping and kind of yelling at you and putting you down, and then you're just like, oh my God, you're in shock. But then you're thinking, oh, maybe I should leave. But then the next day or later that day or the next hour, they're like all so sweet. Oh, you're so wonderful and you're so this, and then the woman will think, oh, maybe it's not so bad. It's no, he's great. He's wonderful. He loves me. It's all good. And then the next day or the next week, he's putting you down again and yelling at you. And you're just like shocked and upset and arguing and smashing your head against the wall. And then they're sweet again. And so it's it actually changes the brain, and it addicts you. Get addicted to that dynamic, and it doesn't feel right anymore. It doesn't feel normal if he's just nice or just normal. It just feels boring. It's not, you're not expecting it. And so that thing is very hard to leave. And not, yeah, the expenses. I mean, imagine if you still have to pay half the mortgage, and then you got to go get an apartment for $2,000 or $3,000. Everything's expensive. There's many factors in it, many reasons why a woman's not going to leave her home. So
Yeah, definitely is something that I always think about when it comes to trying to turn on the lights. um, when it comes to marriages that have been around longer, so it's basically a dynamic that I think about a lot. And
yeah,
but I'm
so
glad that you're addressing it in workshop.
I'm going to be developing a course for that, and I've got a lot of juicy things coming that I'm working on. It's just finding the time, right? And my
Yes.
mediumship, I've been also to help people. It's a part of healing, is I'm a developing medium, so I'm working on that. I'm in three different very top level teachers, because losing my own mom, and then I'd lost my brother and my dad, and I have no kids, and so it's just it's the grieving is really hard. And so I want to help other people know that their loved one is still alive. There's no death. They are there. It's just, the frequency, they're at a different frequency. We can't see them now, but they're out of the body, but they're with us. They love us. And I could bring in those messages for people. So that's been like really joyful, stepping into that.
I can't wait to experience that once you're there.
Yes, absolutely.
You're always full of fun and new ideas.
And Anahita and I went and learned a wonderful modality of shamanic water spirit healing modality together one night, and we do it on each other, and yeah, it's just
that was an amazing experience.
That was good stuff.
Yeah, I honestly felt so much better after having that clearing. It was such
I have that on my website. I offer that. It's on my website at marlamartenson.com. It's a shamanic water spirit healing.
Water spirit healing. It's very cleansing. I highly recommend it.
And there's no water. You don't get in water or anything. We use the water, the frequency of water for healing. And I bring that in, and you put a little bowl of water next to you, and everything's done on the phone, or I don't have to be in person with people for readings, for healings. It's all on the phone or on Zoom. So yeah, that's wonderful. There is no time and space with energy. So
definitely she can do it online. Yeah. It's there's a lot of fun. And you're also great at reading cards.
I've got my cards right here.
Could we do? I know this is impromptu.
Want me to pull a card for everyone?
Yeah, could you do a little reading for everyone?
Okay, this is going to be a card for the collective. So if you're watching this will it will resonate for you. Let's just see what the spirit guides want. This is an oracle deck, so we'll see what they say. All right, glasses, of course. I need that. Okay, wisdom. Okay, this is Archangel Raziel comes in. Wisdom, inspiration, Akashic records. And so, and look, there's this magic, like this energy, this healing coming from the heart, like from the heart chakra. And so that wisdom and inspiration we want to use, it just ties right into using our wisdom when we're out there dating, when we're looking for someone, when we're picking a partner. Wisdom, drop down into your heart, and we will be inspired and know who to go with. Now, the Akashic Records, that's where everything is kind of stored, all memories, all everything that we've done. And we can tap into that, tap into that knowledge. And then we've got the angels of the 7 chakras. And I love doing chakra healings. I can do chakra healing for you too. And I bring in archangels, I bring in color and frequency. And this is power, truth, and connection. And if you are looking for love, either it would be beneficial if you could, if you don't want to do it with a healer, if you have a budget or whatever, and you just want to do it alone, you can go on YouTube and for free and put in chakra healing or heart chakra healing, and they'll lead you through. But it's a great to have those chakras in balance and align, and bringing that power and truth and connection. So we will, and you connect with your heart too, with your heart. It's beautiful. All right. Okay. And then the last one is conscious steps, considered action, looking forward. And so when people get frustrated, I know a lot of singles will get frustrated when that right person's not coming, and they want to be like, when am I going to meet the person? When is this going to happen? So that frequency right there is a frequency of desperation. It's that, oh my God, something's missing. I don't have it. When is it coming? And I'm just so sick of this. I've heard people say, I'm just so tired of it, right? And it gets tiring, but we want to bring that, grounding, bring it in, have the angels come in, get your frequency up, love your life, and then it's going to happen, because it's not somebody, a card to tell you when it's going to happen. It's going to happen when you do your work on yourself, your self-love and everything, that your frequency is going to match that person. So it's really in our own hands, which is kind of nice. It's not like, when is that card reader going to fortune tell and say? It's nobody else. It's not in their hands. It's in our own.
Yeah.
You might not be ready. Yeah. So we bring the power back to ourselves.
Yeah, I think we are definitely really disconnected right now. It's hard. It's a hard time in the world right now.
It is. There's a lot of that frenetic energy, a lot of and people watching maybe too much YouTube or listening to news or all of this and bringing that in. So if we could let go of that a little bit, what are we doing in the morning when we wake up? Are we turning on the news? Are we looking at social media? Maybe put on some frequencies, some certain sound frequencies for 10 minutes. Dance a little, do that a little bit first, and before you go to bed.
That's best way to come into your body, back into your body, is to dance. And I think dance is a lot like qigong almost, because you're taking in energy, bringing in the energy from around to you. I feel like that's really energetically, I feel like that's amazing feeling for us, and to elevate. And like you said, let's not just watch so much TV or Instagram or YouTube or whatever. That's the easiest way to get disconnected from your soul. And the fastest way to get connected to your soul, I feel like dancing or meditation, those two, or being in nature. One of the things that I love is being in that connects to me is walking on the beach. And not many people have that ability, capability, because not many cities are near the beach. The best thing maybe to do is also walk in the park or walk your dog. A lot of people have dogs. I think that's meditative, to be able to walk your dog every morning. That's pretty meditative. Yeah.
Absolutely. There's some questions. Is mediumship hard to get into? Well, it's a lot of practice. It's a lot of, I'm learning. I mean, I'm in an academy all year, and then I'm starting with, it's called Evidential Mediumship Academy, and that's with the Shift Network, and that's mediums out of England, the Mavis Patilla way, and then I'm in James Van Prague's level 2, and I'm starting with Tony Stockwell, who's one of my favorite mediums, amazing. So I'm starting with him, and it's just practice. I mean, I gave in August, I gave about 30 practice readings. You just have to keep practicing, and there are techniques, and there's I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
You want to be, really give that evidence. It's an art, and it's so funny because my husband was like, he's a musician. He's been doing that all his life, that professional. And he performs in Beverly Hills right now. And he says, well, why can't you I have a great, so good, their practice. And he goes, well, he goes, you gave a great reading. Well, did you charge for it? Did you charge any money? I mean, you've been putting money into classes. I said, no.
Sure.
I said, because no, I'm not. I'm doing free readings right now because I'm still developing. I said, would you have when you first started learning the piano, the first year, would you go get a job at the Polo Lounge or go do,
Beverly Hills? Yeah, exactly.
music for a documentary or something? He said, oh no, it took years of practice, and he's very good. So the same with mediumship. So that's what I'm doing, but I'm happy to give anybody a reading. You could reach out to me, and I need practice. So, have you created your own deck? I've thought of it, and I think it can be kind of expensive and very labor intensive. But my shaman, and Anahita knows him, Riz Mirza. He has his own deck coming out. Riz, did you know that?
Okay.
Riz has his own deck coming
I had no idea. Okay, that sounds cool.
He's my shaman. I can't wait until that deck is out because I'm going to be using it. So it'll feel like my own because I'm so excited. I told him, I said,
well,
I'm as excited as you are for this deck because I love
you're
him.
so sweet.
So
I love how you support everybody around you. That's so amazing. That's like such a wonderful way to be. And so thank you so much, Marla. I'm so happy that I got a chance to have you on here.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So before we go, is there anything else that we can talk about, or that you can remember that any offerings that you have, or any new blessings? Because I know there was a full moon just passed. I feel like this full moon, we could maybe talk about that for 2 minutes before we end the show. The full moon kind of put everything under the magnet. And I feel like all the good and bad of us is coming out, and we have to work through it. That's how I've been feeling, for myself at least.
And I think it's a good with everything going on politically and wars and all this stuff in the world, looking at ourselves, what are we making wrong? What are we looking at that, we're very divisive and judging other people and making things wrong and right, instead of kind of just being the observer, keeping our own nervous system calm. I think we are really very quick to judge people, and it's very, human, but I think working on that, I think, because the whole world needs a little more grace and some love and patience.
Definitely. Yeah. I feel like it's actually magnetized a lot of what we were doing wrong and what we should be doing and who are we as human beings. And it's been exciting and scary at the same time. I feel like I had to go through a lot of changes and accept certain things that are my shortcomings. And one of the things that I feel like that's the scariest thing to do is accepting our shortcomings. So I want to offer some kind of a meditation or prayer for that. You and I always do those things sometimes on Instagram. Maybe we could do, before we end, like send out some kind of a prayer or a meditation or a cleansing for what's happening right now.
Yeah, just everybody take a deep breath in through the heart chakra. Thank you, Archangel Michael, for administering to us, cutting any cords that no longer serve us, that we've picked up from judgments from other people, maybe sending judgments to us. We develop these energetic cords from watching the news or watching things that make us upset. We're just releasing those cords right now. Just breathe that in and breathe it out. And Archangel Michael uplifts us, and Archangel Raphael comes in with beautiful pink healing light and replacing where those cords came out, replacing the healing light in those areas. And she's also bringing in some beautiful golden sparkly light into every cell of our body, and we just breathe it in, and remembering to drop down into the heart whenever we're getting upset, and breathe deeply. And we give thanks to the angels. And so it is.
So it is. Thank you so much. This has been so eye-opening, Marla.
Yay. Thanks. Bye, everybody. Much love. Find me at my
Thank you so much.
marlamartenson.com.
Really stay on. We're going to be with the engineer. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us with Marla at Anahita TV. We really appreciate you. And please like and subscribe. I noticed that there's over 72% of you that are watching that aren't subscribers. So we'd love you to become permanent YouTube subscribers, and we'll have amazing guests just like Marla.
Bye.
Thank you.